In today's lesson, I want to show you 3 of my favorite chord voicings for drop D tuning. They're all variations on a G7 chord, and they're all really useful if you want to play traditional blues tunes in drop D. Tunes like Statesboro Blues, Stagger Lee, Crow Jane, lots of other songs. I'll be teaching my arrangements of both Statesboro Blues and Crow Jane this spring in my membership, the Fingerstyle 5. And if you'd like to get your hands on some tab for my basic arrangement of Statesboro Blues, come to my live stream this Sunday, March 30th, where I'll be previewing some of the upcoming material for the membership. In the meantime, let's get started with these 3 G7 chords for playing blues in drop D tuning. Okay, so drop D, in case you don't know, just means taking the low E string and tuning it down a whole step or 2 frets. So that now you've got D, A, D, G, B, E. Some people think of it as an open tuning, but it's really just kind of a variation on standard tuning that lets you play in D and get these nice low bass notes, be able to do a full alternating thumb between the 6th string, 4th string, 5th string, 4th string if you want to. So it makes D easier to play. It doesn't really affect how you play A unless you want to have the 5th in the bass, in which case you might need to do a little bit of that. But you can definitely get away with just playing A the ordinary way. But G, you don't have this G bass note anymore. So you've got to figure out some ways to work around that, and here are 3 of the ways you can play G7 in a way that sounds particularly cool in drop D tuning. Okay, the first one is not to worry about having G, but putting the 3rd, B, in the bass instead. This works great because you can be going from D, and you can walk up to the 3rd in the bass, and you can have your index finger playing the 3rd and your pinky playing the 5th. You've got the 4th and the 3rd strings are open. You can even refinger it with your middle finger to getting the bass. Your pinky still getting the 5th on top. And then you can reach over and get the flat 7 with your index finger. That's a very full and complete sounding chord. And you've got room to do some melodic things here on top. So that's a really satisfying chord. And if you're coming from D, that chord, which is called G over B or G7 over B, is a great solution. The next version of G involves taking this note that you don't have anymore and moving it up 2 frets so that now you do have a G in the bass, just like you would for a standard tuning G7 chord. It's the same note that you would have if this was still an E, then this would be G. Since this is D, you got to go all the way up here to get a G. This is what you would think you would do. Ring finger maybe, getting the root, and then you've got the open 4th and 3rd string again, and then you get the 5th, this time with your index finger. That does work, but this one's even better, because now we have the 7th played with the pinky on the 6th fret of the 2nd string. And this is particularly nice because you can now go between this one and this one. And so you can have a melody going up or a melody coming down. So in this case, the melody is going from the 6th fret on the 2nd string to the open high string to the 3rd fret on the 2nd string. And you could also go the opposite way. But that means you can go from D and as a bonus, you get this kind of extra motion in the bass that sounds pretty cool too. And finally, there's this one. This is a G9 chord. Now, to get here, think about if you had, say, a standard tuning D7 chord here, and then if you removed your ring finger from the high string, now you've got the open high string, you've got a D9 chord on the top 4 strings. Here's the root, the 5th, the flat 7, and the 9. And then, of course, we can put a big fat D in the bass. Now, if you take that idea and you just move it up and use a bar at the 5th fret, now you've got all of this, which is a really cool sound. Now, among other things, we can have a full 6th string, 4th string, 5th string, 4th string bass. We've got all these notes on top, and we can have this kind of sound where we're going from the 5th to the 6th to the flat 7 and over to the 9th. Which is a really great sound. So we can use all these voicings to play the melodies to classic tunes or to improvise on blues in D with an alternating thumb. So a song like Statesboro Blues, the melody's sitting here. And when we get to the 4 chord, you could get the melody here. Or here. Or here. So it gives you these different places you can go. Same thing for a tune like Crow Jane. You could use the G over B, or you could use a combination, or this bar chord version. So it gives you a way to have some different choices, which is nice if you want to create more than one variation on the melody or more than one way to play through the melody. And it's especially cool if you want to start to improvise on some of these tunes as well. So if you were going to solo on a tune like Statesboro Blues, these voicings would let you do things like this. Okay, so that's the idea. Again, if you want to learn more about my arrangement of Statesboro Blues, come to the live stream this Sunday, March 30th. Get your hands on some tab and I'll walk you through a bit of how I put together that arrangement in drop D. In the meantime, if you got a question or a comment about today's lesson, please leave it for me down below. I would love to hear from you. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.